how this goes. And from there, we'll see if we find this worthwhile to edit and use. But while doing the dishes standing here today, I decided that I can't keep putting off doing a podcast. So, yeah, welcome to the first episode of the Just a Veteran podcast, which is going to be my introduction. Because I doubt anyone has bothered in checking out shameless plug to Linktree and seeing where I've been guest on podcasts plenty of times before. Going as far back to, I think it was 2021 when I did Johnny Mo Medias. So many people from on TikTok from MedTalk had seen and heard those same podcasts for creators like Amarok and others. But yeah, I'm just a veteran. That name came from when I started getting involved in veteran legislation back in 2017, when I was one of 320,000 veterans who received a debt notice from the VA that said, "You owe us money." That in my case, like so many others, we did not owe, and these were being miscalculated by the VA. But these notices were sent out anyways, and they tried collecting on them. But I ended up testifying before Congress about that issue and plenty of other issues, like the burn pits, which is what led me to the stairs of the Capitol to support Rosie Torres and Leroy Torres in 2022 to get the PACT Act passed. Because I too served in the Ohio Army National Guard, served with Heath Robinson, that the bill is named after. And well, Heath taught me combat lifesaver training. That was probably one of the last things I did before I was almost one of the 22 a day in 2014. So it sticks with me. And when I decided that life was worth living, a few years after that attempt, I kind of had a "my name is Earl" moment, which was my testimony of just things that I felt needed to be fixed. But as I tried setting out to fix those, starting with the Senate bill that I had introduced with Senators Tester and Brown, the VA Debt Fairness Act of 2018. Starting with that, I started being told that veterans legislation was partisan. It was a partisan issue. And I was like, how is veterans legislation a partisan issue? How are things like healthcare for children partisan issues? Like, we all have fucking kids. And having came off of an over decade of service, where, I mean, in the military, you keep your politics aside. Like, I got a lot of trouble in 2018 when me and a buddy dipped out of work to go to a McCain rally in uniform. But we wanted to meet the guy. I mean, fucking Senator John McCain. Who wouldn't want to meet the guy? POW. I mean, that would have been just a fucking honor as a young soldier. Shake the guy's hand. But I digress. So when I was told that, I mean, it's just partisan stuff, I couldn't believe it. And I mean, I couldn't get the attention of any of my elected leaders back here in Ohio. Lo and behold, that was a common thing, because while I was trying to shake them down with my testimony, talking about burn pits and VA debt and everything else that veterans were facing, they were probably also ignoring people like Susan Zeiser, who's the mother-in-law of Keith Robinson, that again, the PACT Act was named after. But in 2018, I would come across a guy named Ken Harbaugh, who was going to be running to be my congressman. It's like, well, I need anything better than a guy named Gibbs, who was who he was running against. That's when I really got to understand and be reminded about this thing called gerrymandering that I only paid so much attention to when I came home from Iraq in 2010 and watched in Sandusky as Dennis Kucinich and Marcy Kaptur were pitted against each other. And what would end up becoming a three-way primary is for the Democratic nominee. Who I remember talking to, his dad was a veteran, and just learning just how political everything really was. But as it would turn out, I mean, veterans have always been involved in politics. I mean, prior to 1978, like 70% of us veterans were members of Congress. So, like, there was that. Meanwhile, now it's less than the percentage. I think somewhere around 12% of Congress might be veteran. And the ones that are there anymore, I definitely question and wonder sometimes, why are they there? But that's for a whole nother discussion. Hopefully a guest or two as time goes by. But yeah, that's a little bit about how I've gotten to where I'm at. But even before this, I mean, like I touched on the fact that I'm just a veteran. Before I was even in the military, I went to a place called Archbishop Hogan High School. And I'm not saying that I grew up feeling a little bit like the shows Friday Night Lights and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kind of hit close to home. As I really made a comparative analysis, like, no, I'm not black and I can't rap like Will Smith. I do cuss. So, I mean, I got that going for me. I'm definitely more like Malibu's Most Wanted. White boy can't jump, and pretty fly for a white guy. But I did grow up living the life that could be similarly compared to the movie Alpha Dog. I mean, my dad, it's public record that my dad was busted in 2016 with a grow in his house. Yeah, I know everything that I grew up in that house, and well, yeah, that was kind of like they got the crumbs of the cake. Like, they didn't even get like a piece of the cake. They got the crumbs of what was once an illustrious fucking cake empire. But yeah, I went into the military thinking in 2003 when we entered Iraq, after on today of all days. I mean, we're September 11th, so I figured again, I'm essentially the product where I'm at and find myself today. Trying to figure out what's next for female veterans that can't get access to reproductive care, can't get access to abortions. I'll be the one to say it, because it seems like I'm the one that's always having to just simply say the uncomfortable things out loud, because someone has to. Someone at this point has to be willing to say, continue to say these things. And I hate to even say this, that I feel like, I mean, I now feel I need to be the next one to step up and at least say something. Given the fact that yesterday, unfortunately, at the age of 31, Charlie Kirk was cut down in a heinous act of gun violence. Well, I don't agree with 95% of what that barely a man, and I say that because being 31 years old. As someone that has, at this point, at almost 41, has absolutely developed a survivor's mentality, given just the path in life that I have walked and lived. This, if I don't speak up now, it sucks. Like, regardless of who they discover to be the shooter, any of it, regardless, everything about this that, I mean, the fact that someone did, that, I mean, that it wasn't enough for this current president when someone took a shot at him, apparently it, I mean, if he's, I, 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 I would never wish someone to have to feel like they're really experiencing their trauma. But at this point, if our president can't look someone that he wanted to have be immediately to say great American and everything else and lower the flags for, if he can't watch that video and realize that, I mean, the degree of difference of the shooter, and that would have been his thing, and he wouldn't be in the position he is now to, I mean, then sure, no one feels and endures this anymore. That we at least can say, we can at least say with an honest heart and mind that we have done something right and purposeful to address this. And I fear that that's just not where we're going to end up going. And I'm tired of fighting. That's something I've been saying for at least 5 years. Since the 2020 election cycle, when I was working with VFR, I don't want to fight. I told them all, I mean, I still believe I'm a Republican. I voted for Kasich in 2016. I thought, I think fucking John Kasich would have been an exponentially better timeline, so to speak, for us to have divulged that down than the one we find ourselves where we're at. But I mean, I'm not the Monday morning quarterback. I don't like being that, especially already being a Browns fan, because that's all we had is being a Monday morning quarterback, because we never have a quarterback, or at least the Browns era that I've had to grow up in as an 80s child. But here we are. And so, yeah, we're going to fucking talk about it. My perspective is just a veteran. Just a veteran who's also just happened to have been in all the places or knows the guy. I mean, I grew up being told that it's not what you know, it's who you know. However, being neurospicy, identified as gifted in the 90s, mind you, when, I mean, we barely wanted to really acknowledge exceptional students, especially in public school systems, let alone, I mean, how we do it now. I mean, we still, I mean, in most cases, because when it comes to intelligence, there's typically an ability to think differently than others, to think through problems, especially because intellect is its ability to solve problems. It's not the ability to know the answers. Like it's a big difference. But yeah, from this perspective and from just like the song, I get by with a little help from my friends. Get high with a little help from my friends. Yeah, we're gonna have some guests. To start, I'm gonna try pulling out some of the best ones I can muster up, and hopefully along the way, people hear this and they say, you know what? I want to have this conversation too. Because it seems like everywhere I go, every time I try to have a conversation, people want to talk and they want to listen and always want to continue the conversation. And